Hey everybody, I'm Stacy Lynn, and today I am making award-winning chili. I'm making it a little bit different than I have in the past. Usually I use venison. Today I should be using venison, but today is the second day of hunting season, bow season in Alabama, and my husband are out hunting for deer. We have eaten so much. I just did a bunch of shows that I needed to use the venison, and so I'm ready for a new bounty full of that. Right now I have got bacon going. Bacon is a big essential part of this delicious chili. So I'm trying to get it crisped up a little bit more before I remove it from the pan, but I need the renderings from the pan, the bacon grease. Now, if you want to, you can do like my grandmother and keep, and I do it too, but keep a little jar next to your oven and your stove and have it full of bacon grease. So you would pour all of that grease in a funnel right into your mason jar and just put a lid on it, and then you've got it for any time you need it for this dish or any dish. You know, you can be frying up anything, you know, like pumpkin fritters, for instance. It would be delicious with that. But it is so good. This pork is so good with the meat that we're using, which we are really just using some ground meat today. And my mom and us will you know, half a cow, and usually they take a little bit less because we have 9 people in our household and 2 are in theirs, and so we will half it up or whatever we do, and we'll keep part of it and they'll keep part of it, and we will work a deal with a farmer. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and I think we've got enough of the renderings, and I will save that for later when we plate the beautiful chili. So I'm just removing it to a paper towel right over here. This is going to be great to drain, but I'm trying to keep some of that oil in there. Now we'll also put a little bit of olive oil in to make sure that I get a nice brown, a little bit of brown on the onions. And so I've got about 2 onions that are already cut that I'm going to put right down in here and get them nice and hot and saute those. We're going to really get those nice and caramelized. All right, it looks to me like it's going to need a little bit more olive oil. Okay, so sprinkle that in here. All right. I would turn the heat down on this, but I'm kind of afraid to because I don't have a lot of propane, and I'm using a propane tank to cook this out here today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut my garlic. All right, so I'm probably going to use, I don't know, I'm going to use 3 cloves in here. If you don't like garlic, then just leave this out, but I cannot imagine who doesn't like garlic. Delicious. Uh-oh. Good thing I brought more of my cloves. All right, I'm going to give a little stir to my onions. There we go. And cut up this. All right, so chili, I've been waiting all summer to have chili, and I really shouldn't have been waiting. I should have just gone ahead and made it. And actually, I think people used to have chili in the summertime. They said that it cools you down, especially spicy chili. Now this I just kind of roughly chop, because if you get it too small, it becomes bitter. It's kind of sweet when you leave it a little bit in bigger chunks, but not too terribly big, but a little bit bigger. So I'm not crushing it right now, and it's just going to get the flavor throughout the oil as I put it into the pot. All right, so we have about a minute or so more to saute. All right, so I am so excited about this. And I have a fried cornbread recipe on my website at stacylynnharris.com that you must try with this. It is going to be so good with it. It's got, it's kind of creamy on the inside, and it's so crunchy on the outside. And I love, you know, to serve quail over it, or like beef that's, you know, you've had on the stove all day long or in the oven. So good. It just soaks up all of those juices. All right, so got my onions done. It's looking pretty good. Okay, so now I'm gonna add my tomatoes. All right, I go ahead and add the juices and everything. There we go. So I'm using 2 cans. Now, if this would be especially good if you have canned your own tomatoes, which I have some at home, but on the way I realized that I forgot and I did not bring them. So I'm using, I think Marzana Nina's, but anyway, they're delicious, and they do it when they put theirs up at the peak of ripeness. And so if you get canned tomatoes, they are going to be delicious. I like to get the stewed tomatoes, and I put 2 really big, I think there's 28 ounces into this. So, and I will have the recipe, and I'm going to try to put it in the text of this post. Okay, because all of that will just really, it'll simmer down. Look at that. Just that in itself looks amazing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a few chipotle peppers, and I'm going to break it up as good as I can. Now, these are pretty hot, but they have a wonderful, wonderful taste. And I think I'll just add a little bit of the chili sauce that's inside of it. Delicious. All right, what I like to do when I have electricity, and I don't have it right now, so I'm just adding it and I'm leaving everything chunky. I really like to put the tomatoes and the chipotle in a blender at home and blend it until it's totally smooth. And so there's not any big chunks of tomato or chipotle or anything like that when you're eating. But it'll all simmer down. I'm going to let this simmer for, you know, probably an hour before we eat it, and you won't believe how all of these flavors meld together and how everything kind of just turns into one thing. It's going to be great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and brown my meat. All right. While I'm getting all of that going. Now, of course, you can use your one pot. There we go. Okay, get a few of those off of there if you like, but I'm going to go ahead and just use 2 while I get this all like I like it. Okay. All right, so I'm used to doing my venison, and when I use my venison, I like to brown it first. So I've kind of gotten used to using 2 pots, but you could do this step right after you put in your onions. Okay, so that's going. Now I'm going to put in my, I'm going to put all of my spices in. So I've got some chili powder here. And this is about 3 tablespoons. So that's going straight in. And then I'm going to do about 1.5 tablespoons of oregano. All right, give that a stir and get that all in really nicely. There we go. And then I'm going to put in brown sugar. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get that nice and stirred. So this sauce is so good. If you were a vegetarian, this would be really, really great at this point to put in some pumpkin or some sweet potatoes and just kind of really starch it up a little bit. It would be delicious. Or in the summertime, this is really great. Like if you have an eggplant and you've roasted the eggplant, and you could put this all over the top of the eggplant, and it feels like it's just meat. It feels delicious. All right, let me check this meat. Got all these garlic skins out here. Look at that, how delicious. Okay. All right. I love the fact that this Lodge skillet, I love that you can put the top, you can brown things on it and then use the top to simmer. I love it. Okay, so I'm just going to do that until that gets good and done. And now I'm going to add my kidney beans. All right, so here goes the kidney beans. Okay, I'm seeing some of those chipotle peppers where I did not break them up quite as good as I wanted to. Here we go. All right, so when you make this with venison, earlier I was trying to tell you, I sometimes like to mix meats. So I will mix the pork of the bacon, and then I'll have my brown meat, and then I will have the venison, and it is just absolutely delicious. But I'm not putting that venison in today. But what I like to do, all right, kidney beans go in, okay? All right, what I like to do is brown the venison and then remove it from the pan, and then do the rest of this, you know, do the onions and the garlic and get all of that going, and then put the venison back in, and at the same time that I put the ground beef in. So you get different size meats. So you'll get the ground venison, and then you'll also get pieces about a half an inch or so chopped and browned. You'll get that, and then you'll get the bacon at the end. So you're getting the different textures, you're getting the different flavors. And this, doing your meat like this in a separate pan will help you to keep the grease low so that you're not eating quite as much fat, and it makes it taste a lot better too. You really taste the meat, and you're not just getting a lot of fat in your meat or in your mouth. All right, okay, so I'm ready now to transfer this to the bowl. All right, and then I'm going to continue to do this, and I want you to see in the last 20 minutes, I'm going to let it simmer for about 20 or 25 minutes, and then in the last 20 minutes, or even the last 10, I have a secret ingredient that makes this dish amazing. You're not going to believe it. It is so good, and you don't really taste this ingredient. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but you're not going to taste this ingredient. But you're going to feel the texture of it, and it's going to give you a really good earthy feel. So I'm going to go ahead, brown the rest of my meat, and then show you the final product, and show you that step and then the final product. It is so good. You will want to see it. Look at this. Just look at how delicious this is. So all the meat went in after I browned it, and it is just beautiful and thick, and the tomatoes have broken up, and the onions and garlic, I can smell all of that. It is just going to be divine. Now, I did not add any salt yet, but I am going to add just a little bit of salt. I don't want it to be too salty, and it'll be fine. Even if you didn't add salt, everything tastes so great, and you're going to be adding bacon at the end. So you don't really need a whole lot, but I'm going to add about a tablespoon of kosher salt, and then about a half a teaspoon or so of pepper, because I have a lot of heat going on in there with the chipotle, and sometimes I will actually serve slices of jalapeno or habanero or any of those, even Tabasco peppers, and have Tabasco out because Tabasco, you just can't have anything in the South without Tabasco. Okay, so this chili is almost done, but I've got to add my secret ingredient. So I'm going to get one of my bowls and add, well, I'm going to first add about 3 tablespoons, maybe even 4, of this Jiffy mix. Now, I'm not a person that likes prepared things, and I would say, and I think you could probably use cornmeal, straight cornmeal, but this is the perfect mixture. It's got a little bit of sugar in it. It's got, you know, it's just really perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna add some of the hot liquid to this. Hopefully without burning my hand. I am not always very conscientious of getting burned or not getting burned. In fact, the other day I was smoking a turkey during a video, and I had to act like it didn't hurt, but I ended up, I think that's probably enough, I ended up burning my hand. Can you believe that? It hurt so bad, and it was hot, and there were mosquitoes everywhere. But then I think of all of the things that people have really had to go through, and I thought, well, I guess I can deal with this. And it was fine. By that evening, it didn't hurt really that much anymore. So I'm stirring all of this up in here. It's clumping up, but it won't, you know, you just it'll stop clumping up. And you do this so that it doesn't clump up in the big pot. So, and it's going to be acclimated to the hot, and this heat is just going to be perfect. It's going to go straight back into the hot bowl. All right, so I think I've gotten it about done. Nope. All right, and look at that. It makes it thick, so it's going to be a thickener, but it also gives this earthy feel, this texture that you don't get when when you have your just straight chili without incorporating this. Okay, so now I'm going to gently pour this in. I don't want it to splatter back up on me. And then I'm going to stir it continuously until it starts to get all incorporated. The wind is getting a little bit fierce out here right now. All right, here we go. And then I'm going to let it go for just a few minutes, or maybe just 1 minute. And I'm going to plate some up for you. This is the best to make when you have a large gathering. So this right here, along with some rice, will feed 25 people. So you would get a big pot of rice, put the rice down in the bowl, and let people kind of serve themselves. Get the rice in the bowl, and then put this on top, and then decorate it however you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a few jalapenos, and then I'm going to plate this up and show you how delicious this is going to look. And I know that you can probably taste it right through the lens. All right, now my boys love it hot, so I'm not going to try to even think about removing the membrane or the seeds. But if you don't like it really hot, then you can remove those things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of chili. And think about if you had rice in the bottom and how many people this would serve. Look at how thick and delicious that looks. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more because I know that I'm going to want a lot. All right, then I'm going to add a little bit of cheese, or a lot of cheese. A lot of cheese is delicious in this. And I have white cheddar cheese here, but any kind will do, and a great melting cheese is probably the best. But white cheddar has just that pungency that I really love. Okay, so that's going to be melting all on top of the chili. Okay, then I'm going to top it with a little bit of sour cream. Okay, and I love a dollop, well, they're not sponsoring me, just so you know, but a dollop of Daisy. I could not refuse to say it. Okay, and then, and if you like creme fraiche, you can make some creme fraiche and put on top of it. All right, and then a little bit of those wonderful pieces of bacon. So you're going to get that crunch with the bacon, and then a few jalapenos. And just look at that. Is that going to be scrumptious or what? Now, if you want to make those jalapenos smaller so that they're more palatable for you, then go right ahead and do that. So there you have it. The award-winning chili. The secret ingredient is Jiffy mix. Seriously, it is so good. You can make your own. You could do it with cornmeal, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of flour, and make it just the right consistency. So making your own is always the best. I'm always one to talk about, canning and harvesting your own things, and like my people are harvesting our own meat. But tonight I'm going with some ease. I'm out at the purple door, and I'm not going to do a whole lot of work out here. We're going to start the fire over at our fire pit, and I'm going to sit out there with my feet up waiting for them to come back. And then when they get back, they're going to have this amazing chili. I'm going to fry up some cornbread, and it's going to be delicious. If you want this recipe, or you want my fried cornbread recipe, go to stacylynnharris.com. And y'all, this is gonna be so good. Y'all have a cookout, invite your neighbors, invite people that you haven't invited in a while. Have a good time, go outside and just enjoy the weather right now. And have some rice and some chili and just, you know, be friendly, just enjoy life. We've had a hard summer and now it's time to go into the winter and to start a new year in January. Talk to you soon.